I'm very honored and pleased to have the opportunity to say a few words about Operation Haven, as we all are going to celebrate the fact that it has been as it was. And I would like to highlight a few things from the Dutch side, from the RLMC side. On Friday, the 19th of April, 1991, in its weekly meeting, the Dutch cabinet decided to take part in Operation Haven. And that was not just a thing, it was new in the Dutch politics. It was an important thing for us. And it could only happen because we had already this long-standing cooperation. It was, in fact, an example of a kind of parallel decision-making, top-down and bottom-up. Top-down on the political side, there was, of course, context between the ministers of the MODs, and there was a lot of contact on the operational side for our two courses. And I think that was the reason that, first of all, the Dutch government, the Dutch cabinet agreed to go ahead and give the green light for Operation Haven, and also that it went as smooth as it did, because the bottom-up side already worked. A lot of officers on NATO posts already knew each other, had heard the message, had heard the rumor, and exchange officers did their work. So when the green light came on a Friday morning, although we had a kind of no-go for preparations from the political side, we were not allowed to do anything that was indicating that there was already a political decision. You understand that, I think. But mentally and otherwise, we could prepare. And that meant that when a decision had been made on a Friday around 12 o'clock in the cabinet session, the next morning already, we could send an advance party to Diyarbakir with the CEO van ACG, Lieutenant Colonel van Egmond, to join EU troops already in the area. And I think that was a very fast decision-making, and that could only happen this way because we had been so long together and worked so closely together. And I think that was a very important thing for us, to be able to stick up to our promise that we could be there in a very short time. And also later on, in the week after that, the Monday and the Tuesday and the days afterwards, our main body was flown in. I myself went on the Monday evening to Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam, where the staff of the brigade was already there. Brigadier Andy Kiering was there. He was in the empty plane. They were with 3 old VC-10s, but very handy for us. And the first part of the main body could already fly on Monday and Tuesday to Diyarbakir. And I could fly with him in the same aircraft, and we could talk already in the aircraft about what are we going to do, what is the situation, what are the plans, etc., etc. So I think if compared to military operations in general, and especially in NATO multi-state operations, this was a really fast, very fast month. And it could only happen, as I said, because of our long-standing cooperation. For the operation itself, for us on the Dutch side, it was a very important thing, because there were some restrictions in Parliament about taking part anyhow. And if we would take part, it could be that the RLMC, or should it have been the army, or whatsoever. And because of this long-standing cooperation, the choice was on us, and it gave us enormous advantages in our political positioning inside Dutch politics and inside the Dutch armed forces, because there were a lot of questions in Parliament, I remember, about the cooperation, who's in command, how will be the responsibilities, whatever. And there was in the whole operation, there was in fact no real problem in this cooperation. And it brought us in a position afterwards that the army, having by that time mainly conscripts, which was an advantage for us, as there are RLMC, that for decades afterwards, we were the first choice of the Dutch government by this kind of operation. And there were a lot. We went to Cambodia, we went to Haiti, we went to Yugoslavia, we went to Ethiopia, Eritrea, and every time they came out with us. And so it was a real, a very important moment that we could take part, that it went as fast as it did, as good as it did, and it brought us in a very, very good position. Apart from that, there was, of course, this kind of hybrid military, humanitarian aspect of the operation, which was another important aspect in the discussions in Parliament, because there was some mistrust by some parties that we were not good enough or not fit for this humanitarian thing, that we were too trigger happy, that there should be other kind of troops, and that there were question marks. And the fact that we did what we did, and we did a lot of humanitarian efforts and a lot of humanitarian help to the Kurds, brought us in another psychological, political position as well. It appeared that we could do as we did. Needless to say that the whole cooperation, we had a lot of benefits from the cooperation also on the logistical side. We could work with your gear, especially in the beginning, with your aircraft, with your helicopters. We didn't have them by that time. So we owe you a lot, to be honest. And it was a real turning point in our position in Dutch society.